You're just a figment of my imagination.
Well, maybe you're a figment of my imagination.
Making a good horror/thriller art house film might be one of the most difficult things to do. First of all, you gotta make your story genuinely spooky, with very great visual shots that will intensify the emotions of your audience without getting too tacky or too cheesy or too convoluted with the message you are trying to bring across. A lot of directors try to transform them into these totally nonsensical stories where at the end you're just left baffled, asking yourself what even happened and not really buying into the movie at all. But The God Inside My Ear is something different. This is the story of Eliza, played by Linnea Gregg. One morning, her boyfriend suddenly breaks up with her because he has been involved in some sort of a cult. And while she tries to cope with this whole entire thing, she just ends up in a downward spiral that never really seems to end. And things get even stranger when supernatural forces enter her life. Joe Baden, who wrote and directed this film, manages to tell us the story in a very interesting manner. We see everything through Eliza's eyes, her hopelessness, her need to cling on to something, the emptiness of her life, the loneliness. It is told through long and surreal shots, and we really feel with her. I was also incredibly surprised by just how well this movie is shot. This is, mind you, Joe Baden's directorial debut. As the movie progresses, the surreal things happening to Eliza just keep adding up. And once we enter the third act, the cohesiveness somehow falls apart. It leads you into another direction you didn't expect the movie to go, and it is left with a pretty opening ending. That disappointed me. But otherwise, the first two acts were nearly perfect. It somehow reminded me of my favorite David Lynch era. The time when he was doing Twin Peaks and films like Wild at Heart or Blue Velvet, where the story that he was telling was cohesive and made complete sense, but the way the story was told was incredibly unusual. And I really loved that The God Inside My Ear could capture this type of storytelling perfectly. And even though there are some moments in this film that seem a little pretentious, I am very glad that the makers behind this chose to go that direction, because the parts that are really meaningful and really hit your soul and your heart while you're watching this wouldn't be as effective if they hadn't dared to sometimes come off as too pretentious. I hope this makes sense. What really makes this movie happen are the stunning visuals and the stunning cinematography behind it. It works so well that it doesn't just set the tone of the film perfectly, but it also inspires young filmmakers to try something new like this of their own. The way this movie looks elevates it from its $8,000 budget into something that you'd expect to cost at least $80,000. I personally have very mixed feelings for our protagonist Eliza. At moments I really felt for her, and I really wanted to get through this alive and well. And at other times I was questioning her choices and not really too keen with her. But Eliza generally feels very real. And if everything around your character in a film like this feels surreal as fuck, but your main character is totally graspable and understandable, then you're doing something right in a film that is so surreal as this one. We live in a world where horror is given to film through jump scares or through incredibly creepy looking monsters and stuff like that. This movie delivers horror in a totally different way. It will take absurd situations, weird noises, strange edits, objects appearing at places where they don't belong, small little things that make the audience feel very uneasy. Although The God Inside My Ear is by no means flawless, and sometimes comes off as too pretentious, especially during the ending. When this movie does what it sets out to do just right, it does it so perfectly that there's hardly any other movie you can compare it with. And there's people behind this film you are definitely going to hear a lot more from in the future.